$5, $9, $11. Why would anyone pay this much money for what is essentially a single gimmick guard dog monster like a hellhound or a winter wolf? People want collector's prices for the old lead miniatures? I get the Displacer Beasts are iconic D&D monsters like the Beholder, the Mind Flayer, or the Tarrasque, but you can build a campaign around those monsters. I've encountered Displacer Beasts twice in my 30 years of playing, and it's always been forgettable. They're fine monsters for what they are, but the idea of dropping serious money on one of these miniatures seems mental to me, especially when it's so easy to make your own. And that's what we're going to do today on Miniature Mashup. The main building block in this miniature conversion is going to be some kind of cheap toy cat. You're spoiled for choice when it comes to this, as am I. As you can see here, I've got some cats from a Terra Bucket that was out a while ago, available at Target. I'm going to use my cheetahs because I don't really like the paint job they gave them, and they're not particularly intimidating on their own. I think they need a little work. I've also got some can lids cut with a safety can opener and some copper wire. Now to start, we're going to chop up those cheetah minis. The first cut's going to come right behind the shoulder. Second one, we're just taking the head off, but we're going to do that also around the shoulder. We want those connecting points to be about the same size. When we've cut those both off, we're going to combine the two. We're not going to glue them just yet, but we're going to fit them together, and that's basically the idea of what we're going to have here. That way we don't have to cheat and just take a cat and glue some wires to it. We're actually going to have our six-legged Displacer Beast. Now we're going to take our length of copper wire, we're going to cut it into 4 equal lengths. I tend to go a little long on this because it's a cheap material, and it'll make the mini look a lot more impressive if it's got some serious tentacles coming out of the shoulder. Once they're cut to equal lengths, we're going to have to make a port or a hole for these in the shoulders of our Displacer Beast. Now, I'm using a thumbtack to get it started off. Now, I don't have the strength to shove this thumbtack all the way in, and if I did, it'd probably go into my finger. So I'm just starting it off with my fingers, and then I push it in with these pliers. I'm going to apply a lot more pressure with these pliers and not worry about poking myself. So we get that in, and then we also use the pliers just to pull the thumbtack back out, too. It just comes out easily. And once we've started that hole, I'm going to widen it up just a little bit with my X-Acto knife. Get in there and dig a little extra plastic out. I want to make sure I've got plenty of room for my copper wire to go in. Now, getting the copper wire in by hand can be a chore. You can do it that way. Me, I'm also going to use the pliers to do that as well. It's going to hold the wire straight, allow me to apply a little more strength. I don't have to worry about there being a burr. You can do it by hand and add a little bit of E6000 at the end as you push it in, or you can put them in, make sure they're in there pretty good, and add the E6000 after. Now, once I've got those wires in, I'm going to put our 2 halves together of our 2 cheetahs. It does take 2 cheetahs to make 1 Displacer Beast, but it's still a really cheap cost. And I'm putting those together with E6000. E6000 is just a gel super glue. Now we've got our 2 Displacer Beasts effectively assembled. We're going to glue them to the top of these can lids. Sometimes with the bigger monsters, I'll use a screw. I'll punch a hole through and then use a machine screw just to anchor it down. But this is a really light project, and the E6000 is plenty. It'll hold it in place. Seems to bond very well with both the metal and the plastic here. Now I want to pose these wires, these tentacles, in a certain way. Obviously, I don't want them just jutting out the back like they are. So in order to do that, I'm going to brace them in the shoulder with the pliers first. That way I don't just rip them out as I try to pose them in a more menacing, more exciting way. And what's nice is posing them, bending them after they're put on the model gives you a better idea of what the overall composition is going to be. Now, I don't want the tentacles to just be wire thin either. So in order to add a little girth to them, I'm going to use hot glue. And I'm just using my small hot glue gun here. I'm going to start thicker at the shoulder with it, and then it's going to get thinner and thinner as I get to the end. At the very end, we're going to use leave a little pseudopod kind of effect. And I'm also going to use the hot glue to further anchor these wires in, because they're not in there that great, but once you put the hot glue on here and you sort of build a bridge between the two on the back of the Displacer Beast, they're not going anywhere. They end up being quite solid once it's all cured. So, really simple project. just can't see myself dropping $10 on a monster like this. Now, once they're completely assembled and you've got your tentacles done, we're going to start working on the base. And to do that, I start with a little white PVA glue. Well, more than a little. I use quite a bit here, but the stuff is super cheap. I've got tons of bottles of this, so I liberally apply it, and then I spread it around and get in under everything with a toothpick. Just get a nice, good coverage of that can lid. We don't want it to look like they're standing on can lids, so we'll make sure we cover that up really nice, really thoroughly. And then we're going to give them a dip in our dollar store craft sand. Just dip them in there, shake off the excess. I usually bang them on the side of the container. Once they're covered, they already look pretty good, but I'm going to let those sit overnight, let that PVA glue really cure for about 8 hours. Get up in the morning, and then I hit these with a coat of rattle can dollar store black primer, which is just flat black spray paint. Gonna let that sit for about an hour outside, let it really dry up. And as you can see, just primed, they look pretty good. But we're not going to stop there on this show. I'm going to dry brush a little polished blue, which is a blue metallic. Just makes them look very glossy, a little bit otherworldly. You can certainly use a purple or a blue. Some people like to paint a sort of a space pattern on these guys, but I'm not going to go too crazy here. I think they turned out pretty well. What do you think? As always, I'd like to thank you for watching Miniature Mashup. Please visit us on Facebook and like us and follow us there. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider donating to my GoFundMe campaign. The links for both are in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.